So now we're going to do the one arm choke, which is essentially the short choke, but applied with just one arm. So a couple things to note before we get into the technique in terms of its application. We're going to only really apply the short choke with our intention of finishing and the energy investment required to finish when we have a situation where both of our opponent's hands are isolated. If he has either hand defensively hanging off of our choking arm, we're not investing into this as a submission, unless you're Mateus Denise, who has been able to hit a one-arm choke with a defensive arm at a very high level. For the rest of us, it's very difficult and will often result in a lost opportunity. So when we're here, we find the neck the same. I'm finding that edge of the shoulder blade the same. Okay, really concentrating the energy into my fingertips with a hollow hand. Now it's just the same as the short choke. Okay, I'm pulling the elbow back, pushing with my head and chest so that there's no movement. I'm kind of driving my opponent into that choke, and we're going to get the finish. So the second point there in terms of its application is it takes time. The one-arm choke is not as immediate as when we have two hands together and we can exert much more force to against the trachea, and it even takes typically more time than the rear naked choke. So just looking at this in its application, it's something that we can often find from a crucifix position, for example, when I have both arms well controlled in a position where I can maintain that control for a relatively long period of time. We can work ourselves into the short choke position. I found that top edge of my opponent's scapula with my fingertips. I'm going to use my head and chest and shoulder to drive my opponent's head forward, framing him in place, and now pulling that elbow back and maintaining constant pressure until we get the submission. And against someone who's really resisting this choke can take quite a bit of time to do its job. So one more time, he's going to keep his chin down. This time I'll build pressure, get under the chin the same, walk myself into position until I find that blade at the top of the scapula, or that edge at the top of the scapula. And now I'm maintaining constant pressure, always building pressure as I breathe until I get the submission.